There's 5 minutes by, I think it's Peter. He wants to talk about the X on the box. Is he there? So here's Peter of England, and he's going to talk about the election for 5 minutes.
Okay, thanks everyone. I know you've been listening almost non-stop for an hour and a half, and also before the break. So this is just a quick comment that I actually passed to a lady earlier in the evening, around 8 o'clock there. And so she said that I should just maybe come in and make this point. It's coming up to the general election, and everybody's encouraging everyone else to go to the polls and vote for either Labour or Conservative or whoever your party of choice is. One of the things that I was going to do a video on, and hopefully I'll do it when I get the motivation over the next few days, and this is the concept of actually voting. Should you vote, and does it actually make any difference? So one of the aspects of this, the voting situation, is that when you go into the voting booth, as you all know, you have to put a mark or an X in one of the boxes against the favoured candidate. Now what you should possibly realise is that the mark of the X, or for someone who's actually making a signature with an X, as far as legal documents are concerned, are typically people who are actually considered to be incompetent or illiterate. So if you actually look at the definition of when you would be able to use the X as a mark historically, that was usually for people who were imbeciles, idiots, delinquents, wards of court, paupers, or other, shall we say, aliens. So when you're actually putting this mark onto the ballot paper, what in fact you are doing is confirming that you are actually an incompetent or a ward, because you're actually voting within one of the 9,530 odd electoral wards in the country. So for those people who actually say yes, you really do need to vote, otherwise you can't affect the result, or you can't participate in the democratic process, I actually think that is one of the main points to note, that it is actually a cross. If you actually look at something called a chiasmus in Roman law, a chiasmatic formula was actually something that imparted a totally different meaning to the sentence than was actually thought of in the actual dialogue. So that was one of the things that I was talking about. So for those people who say, oh yes, you really do need to vote, maybe yes, voting, but not by putting an X on the box, and this is the same throughout Europe, whether you're in Poland, Slovenia, in France, Germany, or the UK, the actual machinery of getting you to actually negate yourself is by having you confirm that you are a ward of the parish or an incompetent. So that's that point. The other point I'd just like to try and make is that I've been over in England now for about 3 weeks. On the 13th of April, that's just in a few days' time, Weir Bank will actually be in possession of its first tranche printing of 100 checkbooks. These have been done by a security printing company that's agreed to actually make the first run. They took some persuading before they'd actually do it. Now, this company actually provides all the checkbooks for the 5 major clearing banks. The checks will be on security paper with ultraviolet ink, and so will be cleared through Weir Bank in Manchester. And so this comes in as tying in with some of the comments that made by previous speakers tonight, when they've been talking about using promissory notes, or when you can't use a promissory note, when you should use a bill of exchange. What you will have as of Monday, and I've left 1 or 2 pieces of literature around, and please just go to weirbank.co.uk. What you will have from Monday is actually an organisation that will stand behind you and pay for all your public-based liabilities. So that's in effect anything that you're being accused of being a straw man for, anything that you are incurring the liability from, either HMRC, the VAT, council tax, public fines, court fines, parking fines, basically anything that's been thrown at you. The point from here on in is don't fight it, pay it. So we're also in the process of trying to put together a set of streetwear or identifiable, should we say, logos so that when people turn up, maybe at Mr. Crawford's, or whether they turn up at other places to beat the bailiffs, then what is seen to be happening is that there's a uniformed organisation instead of people who might otherwise, only be recognised as just passing through on the day. And one of the key things that I've been over here now to try and do, and I'm going to do it now coming up towards the election, is trying to go through to various groups around the country, whether it's Simon Spaniard's White Rabbit Trust in various locations, and I met Mark a couple of weeks ago to discuss the checkbook issue, is really to try and start, we should start bringing all of these people together now, from Kent Freedom Movement, from Freedom Northwest and people further afield, so that we do actually come together under an umbrella. British Constitution Group with Roger Hayes, all of these people, hopefully will come together so that we can actually sing from the same hymn sheet. Otherwise, I think what will happen is we'll just be left sort of wandering in the wilderness and will never become a credible alternative. So that's where I see it. It's got to go to the next level now, because if we're not perceived as being any type of threat, inverted commas, then we're not really doing our work. So it needs to be elevated. One of the main keys that I'm trying to push forward now, and stand or fall on the sort of strength of my commitment here, is that people have said, no, you can't go near a bank. Dave Fishwick also said, oh no, I had the same trouble with Bank of Dave, which everybody might have heard of. Yeah. Bank of Dave, no. Okay, so we actually have it, it's there, it's up and running. Just to cover quickly, in hopefully under 2 minutes now to conclude, the assets within the bank, the number of people over the last year and a half that have pledged promissory notes to the bank, which then act as a funding mechanism, an asset in the vault of the bank, which then allows you to cash your checks against the communal pool, are in excess of 15 million in promissory notes. There is a small syndicate in Malaysia who have actually allowed me to what's called hypothecate. That means pledge as an equity within the bank, something called 1934 Chicago Federal Reserve Gold Certificate Fractional Reserve notes. These are typically things that came out of the 1933 Gold Confiscation Act in the United States. These are one of the main reasons that John Kennedy got shot in 1963 following what's called the Hilton Green Agreement. So we actually have real physical assets pledged to the bank. And then the final part is under the what's called the Bank of England Q1 quarterly review. In 2014, it states on the front of the document that the general public and the academics have had a misunderstanding of the way money is produced. And what they actually say is, the common misapprehension is that a bank has to have deposits before it can make loans. This has been a big mistake. Everybody's got it wrong. And what they actually say now is that the bank makes a loan, and at the moment the bank makes a loan, it creates a simultaneous deposit in the account of the customer. So that actually turns it on its head completely, and what's good enough for the Bank of England is good enough for us. So if any of you then that come along and join We're Bank, we are very happy to create a loan for you, which will create a deposit in your account. So that's one of the things we'll work on. We'll use the best, or the worst, of what they've got to be the best that we have, and then in combination with the promissory notes, the hypothecated gold certificates, and if anyone wants to find out a little bit more about that, they should look at a chap called Neil Keenan under neilkeenan.com. These are tied in with what's called the global collateral accounts and what's called prepaid treasury. This is supposed to be the holy grail of where all the money is, and what we also find out is the official figures by the World Bank on above surface 99.9% gold, pure 99.9% fine. The official figure is 183 to 186,000 metric tons. And what we actually find out is that's closer to 4.5 million metric tons, and that's kept in tunnels near by the Bank of International Settlements in Basel, in about 30 kilometres of underground sort of tunnels. So that's really what I wanted to say. Thank you very much for giving me the time to do it. So hopefully very good news for the future, and as long as I'm still out and free, you'll know it's working. Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go now because we didn't realise what group it would be and how many speakers.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's a surprise for everyone and me. But now for a real surprise, and I think it's going to be Mr. Taylor who's going to come up. And he's doing a strip now, so too many pints.
I'll give you everything.
For Guy.
Right, chaps then. I mean, ultimately, the people that have been here tonight are splendid. And people like Rob, who's come and talked to you, I've been so educated by Rob over the years that I've known him, it's unreal. Because we're dealing with an onion, and we're dealing with layers of that onion, and the understanding of different layers gives us a different interpretation. I think first and foremost we should all gain forces and go and kill that lot in there, right? Because whatever's happening, they're obviously like unaware of it. They're a teachers association or something. I don't know, right? This is going to be a very short thing that I'm doing because I haven't really got any more than I've ever said. But if everyone puts their hands up, shall we go and kill the occupants in the next room? Right.
On the way.
Henry, calm down. So what I'd like to say, and this is very brief, right? I call this is probably the shortest speech I've ever done in my life. I call it burglary, bailiffs, and the mentally ill. Right? So, burglary and bailiffs. Let's have a look at it. The only difference between a burglar and a bailiff is the paperwork. If they haven't got the paperwork, they're a burglar. So this is what we've been trying to educate the old bill, the police with, right? Burglar, bailiff, paperwork. No paperwork, it's a burglary, it's a thief. Yeah, and that's what we've got to realise. Everything they use is a statutory instrument, right? So we must engage with the first thing we want to see is anytime anybody comes to us, you're a bailiff, right? I want to check your identity. I want to make sure that you're SIA registered, and I want to check the statutory instrument. That's what we're doing with all of these characters. And the police, hopefully, will pick it up on this. Then we're dealing with the mentally ill. And what is the mentally ill, right? I'll tell you what the mentally ill is. If a group of people came to us and said, tell you what, we're all in fancy dress, but we're running the show, and we know we're all talking, you think you're talking English, but we interpret all your words completely differently. They're not English, to us they mean something else, and we're going to give you the law. And please trust me, what we're saying is correct. That's what these clowns are doing to us. This is exactly what they're doing. This is where we've got them. Self-litigants in this country have started to unpick everything that these guys have done to everybody here. If we've all got different opinions and different, great, keep picking away. We're not going to focus our attention on something that they can barricade. Everybody meets, does what they're doing. Like with Tom and Sue's place. We all get there, and what do? First, exchange numbers, meet, talk about stuff, yeah? We're gaining in numbers every day. This lot is shitting himself. And I mean that, I had a guy the other morning, my phone line went out on Monday because of the winds. And unfortunately Linda's away, so on Tuesday there was some guy from Wales who'd been sleeping in the car park going to take me down to Wales to a court case for an 88-year-old lady who was so disabled she couldn't get to court for her council tax, and I promised to go. So I went down there. When I went in there, it's them and us. They know what we're saying is right. They don't want us engaging them, right? Okay? But look, right is might. We have got the right. And in this country, let me tell you now, everybody is waking up. You guys, right, okay, have woken up a lot more than other people, right? But everybody knows, there's things going wrong all the fucking all the time, right? Things are coming into the event horizon, right? People are getting bailiff letters, etc., etc. They've got no authority. They can't do what they do under law. Now we're examining, they can't do it legally. We're examining this, so they can't do it legally, never mind lawfully. So we're taking it all apart. And our numbers are gaining. Unfortunately tonight, like it sounds like, the EastEnders and Coronation Street out there, but that's nobody's fault, right? We should have had a half-K rig or something here where we would have overwhelmed them, but unfortunately it hasn't happened, right? But we're in numbers. Talk to everybody, meet everybody, exchange numbers. We are winning. We are winning. We are winning. They're creating more rules, more regulations, more red tape, which we can trip up with every day of the week. We're winning this battle, and we will continue to win this battle, because ultimately we're right. And we're going to be on the right side of history. We ain't going to be on the wrong side of history. We're going to be on the right side of history. And that's why all of you here today are here. You've heard wonderful people talking about all the stuff tonight. And listen, it's onwards and upwards. Let's get it going. This is going to be our year. We're going to kick ass of these shitheads. And that's my lot, yeah? So it's very brief for me, but wonderful night tonight. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep all the organisations moving. Let's all meet. Let's all do things, right? Okay. We know more than they do. We do. We know more than they do now. They've not dusted off those books. They think, oh well, this is the way it is. This is what we do. Yeah. Well, it ain't what we do. We're human beings, right? And if they want to apply the rules to us, we're going to apply the law to them. So onwards and upwards.
Sorry about that, folks. That was a bit of a surprise. So I think we're timing. Yeah, no, that's Sue's. She's been doing the timing. So I think that's it for the evening, isn't it? Yeah. So I'd like to thank everybody that's come along, especially all you people. Who would have thought this on the 23rd of July, a year ago, that this would happen? Mark saying him. But basically, this is absolutely... Oh, I tell a lie. There is somebody who's going to say a few words, and it's Wendy. It's about Melanie. So, are you ready? Okay. Here she is. An applause for Wendy.
I'm a supporter of Melanie Shaw. I think a lot of you may be aware of Melanie. She's a child abuse victim from Beechwood. I first became aware of Melanie on the 9th of July through the UK column when she first disappeared. And then on the 12th of July, she was actually believed, there was a news article went out, she was believed to be in Peterborough jail. Now, you're looking at the lady that lives a mile and a half away from Peterborough jail. Before the news programme had finished, I was on the phone. They wouldn't admit Melanie was there, they just said, well, write to her. So I did, that was the Monday. Saturday, I got a letter back. So I had that up on all the Facebook pages and gave it to Brian to put the number out for everybody. And Melanie wrote loads of letters, she got lots of letters, and she wrote to everybody possible. We attended a court case, which was a fallacy. The judge told the jury that Operation Daybreak was a figment of Melanie's delusions. Originally, they said she burnt down. She burnt down on 3 different nights. We're not sure which. Plus, there was no evidence in the fire brigade log. No evidence provided at court. Yet Melanie was forced to accept the judge's ruling from a psychiatrist that had seen her for 1 hour in Peterborough jail, as opposed to her own psychiatrist, who's known her for 15 years. and she had to accept that she didn't have PTSD, she was delusional. And if by accepting that she got 3 years probation instead of 4 years in jail. Since she came out of jail, she's been harassed one way and another. Her doors were put through. She's ended up being taken to the Nottingham Hospital. The police tried to have a section. They sent her out after 48 hours. And then eventually, she disappeared again. We found out she was back in Peterborough. Nobody knew the charges. The first time she was in court, this time, which was beginning of February, I think. Yes, beginning of February. Nobody knew she was going to be in court, so there was nobody there. She was then due in court on the 27th of February, and we put a call out for people to attend. But at the same time, her solicitor, who she doesn't want, actually put a Twitter message out that she would not be in court in person, it would be a video link. But we still came up from Peterborough because we were going to miss a chance to let Melanie see people here. People have written to Melanie. Over 500 people that I am aware of have written to Melanie this time. Nobody has received a letter back until I started telling people to do the letters registered, because then they had to be signed for. Then suddenly one letter arrived at UK Column begging for help. Nothing else since. The judge on the 27th of February told Melanie that, what did he, oh yeah, he said she, first of all she was accused of sending messages, false messages, and she was also accused of holding a gentleman, Tony Cranbourne, against his will. We've now found out this Tony Cranbourne is a paramedic, and we believe that all that happened, Melanie in a very upset state was talking to him and wouldn't let him through the door, because he has not brought the charges, somebody else has. In the courtroom on the 27th, they very kindly put Melanie in courtroom 4, where you cannot see the dock from the public area. So I actually got into trouble for sticking my head round and was told to sit down by the judge. But at least Melanie knew we were there for her. And she was remanded back, and the judge was saying, well, he was a QC, I believe, he was saying he wanted her back in court after a medical test that he would order, he would say he was doing them. And he was trying to work a date out when up popped the clerk of the court, and we heard him saying, Judge Pert wanted her back in front of him. So now she's up on May the 18th in front of Judge Pert. She's also in court last week that nobody knew about, and she was ordered to accept the solicitors she'd previously sacked, else she would be found incompetent. So this Sunday, on the 5th of April, which is Easter Sunday, in Peterborough, where we had the last vigil, we are having speakers, including Nigel from White Flowers. Mickey Summers is coming down to speak. Mandy Copeland's coming down from the CAMS Child Abuse and Stop Nottingham. I shall be speaking. I've been promised that Belinda Mackenzie will come up. So we've got quite a few speakers. After the speeches we're going to go around once again to Bakerfield outside Peterborough Prison. And hopefully when we go around the side, she will be able to see us from her cell, because nobody yet has received a letter from Melanie. So she doesn't even know she's got this support. So if anybody can make Peterborough on Sunday, Cathedral Square in the centre of Peterborough, join us, or about 2 o'clock outside Peterborough Jail on Bakersfield. 12 o'clock in Cathedral Square, about 2 o'clock on Bakersfield, outside the prison. I don't think I've got anything to say. If anybody else, I've tried to put leaflets on every table, but you know, Melanie's got to be supported. Thank you.
Can I just say, right, okay, because obviously we've been drowned out, because we're trying to gain information, there's other people having a good time. You can't knock him for, right? But let's all have a little chant, right? to knock this out, right? Can we all agree on that, yeah? Yeah. So let's all start it off, right? We go, freedom, 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 freedom.
Sorry, what was that, Guy?
No. But at least we had our minute, didn't we?
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. So, I'd like to thank everybody who's come along and talked. Each one of you deserved at least 2-3 hours each because of the information you've got. It's incredible, all the research that's gone into most of the things that you've all talked about. So, I'd like to thank everyone else who's come along and supported us. What can I say? I'm always short of words, so give yourselves all a big applause because you've been brilliant. Sorry, there was one last thing. Hopefully on the 24th of July we're going to have a conference and we're going to get speakers around about the 24th. But hopefully the 24th, which is the day after our first attempted eviction, because that seems to set something in motion throughout the whole country. This conference will be kept to enter it, to come along, it'll be very, very cheap. Hopefully between £10 and £15, and it'll be for the whole weekend. Not only that, we're going to have a festival at the same time. So it's going to be camping, there'll be bands playing, intermixed with speakers. We want young people to come along, old people. We've got to educate people. And unfortunately, I forgot to tell you this earlier on. The people in there. This what?
Teachers' party.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, we should go to the
Yeah, but how many common purpose are out there?
Yeah.
So that's coming up in July, and we hope to get hundreds, if not thousands, to come along and make it from up and down the whole of these islands. So the venue is still being negotiated, but it'll be around here. Okay, so Robin Hood country. We're going to take from the rich and tell the poor about it. Okay, thank you very much.
Debt Free TV, in association with GetOutOfDebtFree.org.